Stop depending on others, not because people are bad, but because your life is too valuable to be placed in someone else's hands. From the day you are born, you are taught to depend on parents, on teachers, on society, on systems, but there comes a moment when growth demands responsibility. Education is not only about degrees and books. Education is about learning how to stand when no one is holding you. The strongest lesson life will ever teach you is this: no one will come every time you fall, and that is not cruelty, that is reality. When you depend too much on others, you unknowingly hand over your power. Your confidence starts shrinking, your decision-making becomes weak, and slowly you forget how capable you truly are. Independence is not arrogance, it is awareness. It is knowing that help is a blessing, not a necessity. Learn to ask for guidance, not permission. Learn to appreciate support, not wait for rescue. The moment you stop waiting for someone to save you, you start saving yourself. Struggle is not your enemy. Struggle is your classroom. Every challenge you face alone teaches you skills that comfort never can. When you solve your own problems, your mind becomes sharper. When you face your fears alone, your heart becomes braver. Education happens not only in institutions, but in moments of pain, silence, and responsibility. If life is testing you, it means life believes you can pass. Depending on others often creates excuses. I couldn't do it because no one helped me. But independence removes excuses and replaces them with action. Skills are the real currency of freedom. Learn something valuable. Train your mind. Strengthen your communication. Build discipline. The more you learn, the less you beg. The more you grow, the less you fear. Education gives you options, and options give you independence. Emotional dependence is the heaviest chain. When your happiness depends on someone's approval, presence, or validation, you live as a prisoner of emotions. Learn to sit with yourself, learn to heal yourself, learn to encourage yourself. When you become emotionally strong, rejection no longer destroys you, and failure no longer defines you. You stop collapsing because someone left, because now you know how to stand alone. Standing alone does not mean you hate people. It means you respect yourself. It means you can walk with others without leaning on them. The strongest people are not those who never fall, but those who rise without making noise, without blaming, without begging. When you rise on your own strength, you become hope for others who are still afraid to try. Stop depending on others and start depending on the potential within you. You were not created to be carried, you were created to walk. You were not born to wait. You were born to rise, and the day you truly understand this, you don't just change your life, you become a lesson for the world. Self-responsibility is the first freedom, because the moment you accept that your life is your duty, your mindset changes completely. You stop asking why this happened to me, and start asking what can I do now? That shift is not small, it is powerful, it is life-altering. When you depend on others to fix your situation, you give them control over your peace, your growth, your future. But when you take responsibility, even in pain, even in loss, you reclaim your power. You realize that freedom does not come from comfort, it comes from courage. Courage to say, I will not wait. I will know. Blame. I will not delay my growth because someone else failed me. Responsibility teaches you discipline, and discipline teaches you dignity. When you wake up knowing that no one owes you success, you begin to work harder. You become focused, not emotional. You understand that excuses may comfort you for a moment, but responsibility builds you for a lifetime. Life does not become easy when you take responsibility, but you become strong enough to handle life. And that strength is freedom. Freedom from dependency, freedom from expectations, freedom from constant disappointment. Many people want motivation, but they avoid responsibility. They want support, but they don't want accountability. Education teaches us that learning is not memorizing facts, it is developing ownership. Ownership of your choices, your habits, your failures. When you fail and say it is my fault, you gain the power to improve. When you fail and say it is their fault, you remain stuck. Responsibility turns mistake into lessons and lessons into wisdom. Self-responsibility also builds self-respect. When you keep promises to yourself, even small ones, your confidence grows quietly. You stop seeking validation because you trust yourself. You don't need applause to move forward. You don't need approval to begin. You learn that consistency is louder than motivation and action is stronger than words. This is not something anyone can give you. This is something you must choose daily. Depending on others feels safe, but it weakens you slowly. Taking responsibility feels heavy at first, but it strengthens you deeply. When you carry your own weight, you realize how capable you are. You discover skills you never knew you had. You learn patience, resilience, and emotional control. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop complaining and start building. Responsibility also teaches humility. You understand that no one is coming to rescue you, and that realization does not break you, it wakes you. It pushes you to learn, to adapt, to rise. You become a student of life, not a victim of circumstances. You stop saying I can't and start asking how can I learn? This is how freedom begins. Not when life gives you everything, but when you decide to carry yourself with strength, grace, and courage, knowing that whatever happens next, you will face it, handle it, and grow through it. Dependence slowly erodes confidence, not in one loud moment, but in quiet habits you don't notice at first. Every time you wait for someone else to decide for you, to motivate you, to rescue you, your inner voice becomes weaker. You begin to doubt your judgment, your strength, your ability to stand alone. Discipline, on the other hand, rebuilds what dependence destroys. Discipline is not punishment, it is protection. It protects your future from your moods, your dreams from your fears, your potential from your excuses. When you choose discipline, you choose power over comfort. Confidence is not born, Some praise is built through action repeated daily. When you rely on others, you delay action. When you rely on discipline, you move even when you are tired, even when you are afraid, even when no one is watching. Discipline teaches you to show up for yourself. And every time you show up, your self-belief grows quietly but firmly. You stop asking, am I good enough, and start proving to yourself that you are capable. Education is incomplete without discipline. Knowledge without practice creates illusion, not strength. Discipline turns learning into skill and skill into independence. When you train yourself to wake up on time, to practice consistently, to improve a little every day, you no longer need external pressure. You become self-driven. That is real power. The power to act without applause, to continue without support, to stay committed when motivation disappears. Depending on others feels easy because it removes responsibility, but it also removes growth. Discipline feels hard because it demands effort, but it rewards you with confidence. Each disciplined choice tells your mind that you can be trusted. Each disciplined habit reminds your heart that you are not weak. Over time, this trust becomes unshakable confidence. You walk differently. You speak with clarity. You no longer beg for opportunities because you prepare for them. Discipline also strengthens emotional control. When you depend on others emotionally, their words control your mood and their actions decide your peace. Discipline teaches you to regulate your reactions. You learn to pause, to think, to respond with wisdom instead of impulse. This emotional discipline protects your confidence from being shattered by criticism or rejection. You stop collapsing when things don't go your way because you have trained your mind to stay steady. Weakness is not failing, weakness is avoiding discipline. Strength is choosing what is right over what is easy again and again. When you discipline your time, our thoughts, and your actions, you stop wasting energy on regret. You focus on progress. You replace excuses with effort and fear with preparation. This is how discipline builds inner power, silently, steadily, deeply. Dependence makes you wait, discipline makes you move. Dependence makes you doubt, discipline makes you believe. And the more disciplined you become, the less you fear standing alone, because you know your strength comes from within, and no one can take that away from you. Your struggle is not a sign that you are weak, it is evidence that you are being trained. Life does not teach its most powerful lessons in comfort. It teaches them in moments when you feel alone, uncertain, and tested. Every struggle carries knowledge that no classroom can offer. When things fall apart and no one understands your pain, that is when life is educating you directly. The problem is not the struggle, the problem is resisting it. The moment you stop asking why me and start asking what is this teaching me, struggle turns into wisdom. Pain sharpens awareness. When everything is easy, you don't listen. When everything is comfortable, you don't grow. Struggle forces you to pay attention to yourself, to your habits, to your mindset, to your strengths and weaknesses. It strips away illusions and shows you who you really are. And that truth, though uncomfortable, is the most valuable lesson you will ever receive. Education is not only about adding knowledge, it is also about removing ignorance. And struggle removes ignorance brutally but effectively. When you go through difficulties on your own, you develop resilience. Resilience is the ability to bend without breaking, to fall without staying down. Every time you survive something you thought would destroy you, your confidence deepens. You may not feel strong in the moment, but strength is being built quietly inside you. Struggle teaches patience, and patience teaches endurance. It teaches you that progress is slow, that healing takes time, and that growth is not instant, but it is permanent. Many people run from struggle and remain dependent all their lives. Those who face struggle become independent thinkers, problem solvers, leaders. When you struggle, you learn how to think instead of complain. You learn how to adapt instead of quit. You learn how to move forward even when the path is unclear. These skills cannot be given to you by anyone. They must be earned through experience. That is why struggle is such a powerful teacher, because the lessons stay with you forever. Struggle also builds empathy. When you have felt pain, you understand pain. When you have been tested, you respect effort. Education without struggle creates arrogance, but education through struggle creates humility. You stop judging others quickly because you know how heavy life can be. This emotional intelligence becomes part of your strength. It allows you to connect, to lead, to inspire without speaking loudly. Most importantly, struggle teaches self-belief. When you solve your own problems, even imperfectly, you start trusting yourself. You realize that you are capable of more than you imagined. You stop underestimating your abilities. You stop waiting for ideal conditions. You act despite fear, despite doubt, despite exhaustion. This belief is not motivational, it is experiential. It comes from doing, not from hearing. Life will not remove your struggles, and it should not, because every struggle is shaping the version of you that can handle bigger responsibilities, bigger dreams, bigger challenges. And the more you learn from what hurts you, the less power pain has over you, and the more control you gain over your own path. Skills are the true backbone of independence, because talent without skill is fragile, and excuses without effort are dangerous. When life demands results, explanations mean nothing. The world does not reward intentions, it rewards competence. Every time you say, "I can't because of circumstance," CES, you give your power away. But every time you say, "I will learn," you take your power back. Learning a skill is not just about income or survival, it is about dignity. It is about knowing that no matter where life places you, you have something valuable to offer. Excuses are comfortable because they protect the ego, but they poison growth. They make you believe that your limitations are permanent. Skills prove that belief wrong. When you commit to learning, you accept that improvement is possible. That realization alone is empowering. Education is not passive listening, it is active practice. It is failing, adjusting, and trying again. Every skill you develop strengthens your independence and reduces your dependence on people, luck, or sympathy. Skills also build confidence that cannot be shaken by criticism. When you know what you can do, opinions lose their power over you. You stop seeking approval because your work speaks for you. This is why skilled people walk quietly but firm. They don't argue much, they don't complain much, they don't explain much. They let results speak. That calm confidence is not arrogance, it is earned through effort and consistency. Depending on excuses makes you reactive. Depending on skills makes you proactive. Instead of waiting for opportunities, you create them. Instead of blaming systems, you learn how to navigate them. Skills give you options, and options give you freedom. Even in the hardest conditions, a skilled mind finds a way. That is real education, learning how to adapt, how to survive, how to rise regardless of circumstances. Learning a skill also trains patience and focus. In a world that wants instant success, skills demand time. They humble you. They remind you that mastery is a journey, not a shortcut. This patience strengthens character. You become disciplined, resilient, and mentally strong. You stop chasing shortcuts and start building foundations. And foundations last longer than motivation. Skills also reduce fear. Fear often comes from uncertainty, from not knowing how you will handle the future. When you develop skills, fear loses its grip. You trust yourself more. You know that even if things go wrong, you can learn, adapt, and recover. This self-trust is priceless. It allows you to take risks, to grow, to step outside comfort without panic. Excuses ask for sympathy, skills demand respect. One keeps you stuck, the other moves you forward. When you choose to learn instead of complain, to practice instead of postpone, you slowly transform your identity. You stop seeing yourself as helpless and start seeing yourself as capable. And the moment you accept responsibility for learning, your life begins to change in ways no excuse ever could. Emotional strength is not about shutting your heart. It is about standing steady even when your heart is heavy. Depending emotionally on others makes you fragile because your peace becomes controlled by their behavior, their words, their presence. They change, you collapse. When they leave, you feel lost. Emotional independence begins when you realize that your feelings are your responsibility. No one is meant to carry your emotional weight for you, and expecting them to do so only leads to disappointment. Learning to stand alone emotionally is an education of the soul. It teaches you how to sit with discomfort without running away, how to process pain without blaming others, how to heal without begging for attention. This is not easy, but it is powerful. When you stop expecting others to fix your emotions, you start understanding them. You learn why you react the way you do, why certain words hurt you, why certain situations trigger you. Awareness replaces chaos. Emotional dependence often disguises itself as love, but real love is not fear-based. If you are afraid of being alone, you tolerate disrespect. If you fear abandonment, you silence your truth. Emotional strength breaks these chains. It allows you to choose relatio, end ships, not cling to them. It teaches you that being alone is better than being in the wrong company. This understanding protects your dignity and your mental peace. When you stand alone emotionally, rejection no longer defines you. Criticism no longer destroys you. You listen, you learn, but you don't shatter. Emotional strength gives you balance. You stop reacting impulsively and start responding wisely. You no longer give others the remote control to your emotions. This control is not coldness, it is maturity. Education without emotional strength is incomplete. You can have knowledge, skills, and success, but without emotional independence, you remain vulnerable. Emotional strength trains your mind to stay calm under pressure. It teaches patience in conflict, silence in provocation, and clarity in confusion. These qualities make you powerful in any environment. Standing alone emotionally also builds self-trust. When you survive loneliness, heartbreak, and disappointment without losing yourself, you realize your inner capacity. You stop underestimating your resilience. You understand that pain does not end you, it educates you. Every emotional challenge becomes a lesson, not a life sentence. Emotional strength does not mean you never need people. It means you don't lose yourself when people come or go. You value connection, but you don't depend on it for identity. You learn to be your own safe place. And when you become emotionally strong, you walk through life with quiet confidence, knowing that no matter what happens outside, you are stable within, grounded in self-awareness, self-respect, and inner peace. When you rise by your own strength, your success carries a different kind of weight. It is not loud, but it is deep. It does not need constant explanation, because it is rooted in truth. People are inspired not by perfection, but by authenticity. And nothing is more authentic than someone who has lifted themselves without shortcuts, without dependency, without excuses. When you rise yourself, you become proof that circumstances do not decide destiny, choices do. Inspiring others is not about standing on a stage or speaking into a microphone. It is about how you live when no one is watching. When people see you taking responsibility, learning continuously, standing strong in hardship, they begin to question their own limits. Your discipline becomes a mirror. Your resilience becomes permission for them to try. Education spreads silently through example, and self-made growth is the most powerful lesson you can teach without saying a word. Rising yourself also changes the way you help others. You no longer help from weakness or obligation, but from strength and understanding. You don't create dependence, you create capability. You don't rescue people, you remind them of their own power. This is real leadership. It comes from experience, not authority. People listen to those who have walked the path, not those who have only talked about it. When you build yourself, you break cycles. Cycles of fear, of excuses, of helplessness. Your journey becomes evidence that transformation is possible. For someone watching you quietly, your struggle gives them courage. Your consistency gives them hope. Your growth tells them that change does not require permission, it requires commitment. This is how one life can influence many without trying to impress anyone. Rising yourself also humbles you. You know how hard the journey is, so you don't judge those who are still learning. You respect effort. You value progress over perfection. This humility makes your inspiration genuine. People feel safe around those who have struggled because they speak with empathy, not ego. Your story does not intimidate, it empowers. Education is not complete until it benefits others. When you rise, you carry lessons that can light the way for someone else. Not by preaching, but by presence. By showing what discipline looks like. By showing what emotional strength feels like. By showing that independence is not loneliness, it is self-respect. When you rise yourself, you don't just escape your own limitations, you expand what others believe is possible. Your life becomes a message louder than words, telling the world that strength is built, not given, that freedom is earned, not gifted, and that the greatest inspiration is a human being who refused to stay down and chose to rise on their own power.